Shalom. Kol Halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakaha Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen that look like those heathen. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone from Chicago here, the branch in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And what I'm going to do today is just pick apart some racist Edomite Christian narratives that mix pseudoscience, Darwinism with biblical things. As you're looking at the screen, this is supposed to be Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and in the image on the bottom, this is supposed to be Noah. All right, but as you very well know, the so-called white men do not produce children that look like this. All right, so if that's Noah and this is his son Ham, they don't produce. How did this come about? You see, so when you just go into their, into their whole narrative, it falls apart. And I'm going to show you how the things that they say don't match up with scripture, because what they're trying to say here too is that the Arabs are Esau. All right, but if this is Japheth, Esau, and because they, you see the confusion, and this is supposed to be Ham. Now, off the bat, we're going to prove that the Hamites are different from the so-called Negroes. Okay, so what I have in front of me, because I'm redoing this video, and I actually had the Zondovan's Compact Dictionary Bible pulled up on the screens to put it on the screen when I was reading from it, so I didn't prepare that in my hastiness. Because I went to upload this video last night before I went to sleep, woke up in the morning and, started clearing out my phone, deleted it, and not knowing that Critical Race Historical Facts had a strike on it, so it couldn't upload, and I had already deleted the video. So we're doing it again. So we're just gonna go, but you know what? It's all the Spirit of the Lord, and hopefully I do it even better this time. But we're gonna go to the definition of Ham in the Zondovan's Compact Dictionary Bible. I'll put it in front of the screen. All right, the Zondovan's Compact Bible on page 213, and it reads: Ham, perhaps Hat, son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes, but the Ethiopians, the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. So the man in the middle is the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. All right. You have to remember too that it never said Hamites for sale when you had your slave signs. It said Negroes for sales. And there's a very interesting thing that happened here in America in 1682. You can look this up. There was an act that was enacted in Virginia in 1682, and in that act, it made the Native American and the so-called blacks who had come here on their own, who were indentured servants, and those who had come here in slavery, it classified them as the same people, and they called them Negroes. You have to remember, there are millions upon millions of Native Americans walking around America that are called Negroes or blacks today. All right, it's a very important critical race fact that you need to know. So remember, this channel is critical race history, not theory. Theory and history are not the same thing. All right. So, proving that, it said the Negroes, but the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. Now, there was a video where I'm going to play where this woman talks about, African, and African American, and she's a so-called white woman, and she had children with the so-called black man, who more than likely was an Israelite. All right, you have to remember that Pastor Fred Price Jr. just as of recently came out and said that he agreed with the Hebrew Israelites that the Negro, from his own research, this is all you actually have to do, but through his own research, he's found that if you are descendants from the people who were brought over here in the slave trade, then you indeed are an Israelite, and that is 100% truth, and that matches prophecy that Israel will go into captivity on ships, all right, with yokes of iron around their necks, and they will be sold, and then they will be called bywords by other names. Everything that I just said can be found in the book of the curses, which is Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. That did not happen to so-called white people. That did not happen to people who refer to themselves as Jews. It didn't happen. They didn't go into slavery via slave ships and get shipped all over the world. Didn't happen to them. All right. So let's read the next scripture or the next resource. All right, and then we're gonna bring out some scriptures, of course. But now we're in the Young's Bible Dictionary once again in the original video that was on the screen as well. So we're in the Young's Bible Dictionary, and we're gonna go to the definition of ham in here. And I love this definition even more so than the one in the Zondervan's. And it's on page 256 and 255 because it's at the bottom of page 255. And then you have to continue reading on 256. So it reads, Ham, a son of Noah and father of Cush, Egypt, Put, in Canaan. Remember, in the video I'm going to play, the woman is talking about the Ethiopians are Jewish. No, they're not. The Ethiopians come from Cush, and Cush is a Hamite, the man in the middle, in the photo that you're looking at, the imagery. All right, that would be a Hamite, and then truthfully said, he actually looks, more like a Negro than he does a Hamite, because Hamites don't really grow hair on their faces. They don't really grow beards. All right, their beards don't really grow that way. Okay, that's another way of distinguishing a so-called Negro from a so-called African, a real Hamitic African. It says, a son of Noah and father of Cush, Egypt, Put, in Canaan. See further on each of these four. While they all may have been dark-skinned, they were not, turning to page 256, forefathers of the Negroid races, which would be the 12 tribes. All right? But rather the peoples associated with Egypt in the north of the continent of Africa, all right? And the Egyptians thought of Canaan as one of their provinces, even into the very late times. Now, the Hamites were actually all over Africa, not just the north. But those provinces were basically in Western Asia, where the Philistines and the Canaanites were dwelling. As you're looking at a image of Canaan with the falsified image of Noah on the bottom photo. All right. And remember, so-called white men don't have sons like this. Now, strange enough, you can go on the internet and you can find dark people having pale children. All right. Pale people don't have dark children. It doesn't happen. But dark complected people could have a whole load of children, and some of their children, or one of their children, can actually come out looking like a so-called white person. Happens all the time. Google it. All right. You got a gripe with that? Google it. It happens still to this day. All right. Proving the whole Jacob and Esau thing. All right. So now that we've done that, we're going to play the video where the lady speaks, and it was a TikTok video, and she's called the Green-Eyed Angel. All right. And that's what the name of the video was. It was called Correcting the Green-Eyed Angel. So let me turn the sound up and let's get her going.
I'll lose some followers for this because there's a lot of racist people out there, but I don't care, because if you're racist, I don't want you on my thing anyway. My children are my 4 daughters are African American or black, whatever you want. They're women of color. Because the first person that says anything negative or says anything derogatory to me, you're getting blocked anyway. So
let me pause it right there. And I'm going to go get a couple of milk scriptures. This is pretty much what I did yesterday. I let her speak, and then I would chime in. And what she said was correct. You are whatever your father is, all right? Not your mother. And the most milk scripture we can get is in Numbers 1:18. All right? Despite the circumstances of why they were numbering the people, they were numbering them by the house of their fathers, because that's who determines your nationality. All right? And then remember, the whole book of Matthew, all right? The first chapter. Then you got Hebrews 7:14. Just did a lesson using these scriptures the other day. Revelation 22:6. The Lord telling you He is the root and the offspring of Jesse. All right, of David. All right. Hebrews 7:14 tells you He's of the tribe of Judah. You know, and in Isaiah 11:1-10, it tells you that He's out of the root of Jesse, out of Jesse. You know, and there it is. And Judah came out of Jesse. So, I mean, Jesse came out of Judah. He's of the tribe of Judah. And out of Jesse came David. Out of David came Solomon, all the way up to the Lord. That's in Matthew, the first chapter. All right, but this is Numbers 1:18, and it reads, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the numbers of the names for 20 years old and upward by their polls. So, you know, this whole BHI, this black Hebrew Israelite thing, which is a false narrative that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, likes to push instead of just Hebrew Israelites, because the Bible does refer to them as Hebrews, and it does refer to them as Israelites. All right? Because they are Hebrews and Israelites. Or just like you have the Hebrew Edomites, the Hebrew Ammonites, the Hebrew Elamites, the Hebrew Moabites, every group of race, every group that came out of Shem, all right, were Hebrews. Abram the Hebrew. I tell you what none of them were. None of them were Jewish. All right, the Israelites. Jacob was not Jewish. Isaac was not Jewish. Abraham was not Jewish. They were Hebrews. All right, and that word Jew, it really is a term shortened for Judah. All right. Now you had Judeans. All right, and the only people who actually were referred to it, you can follow the way of the Judeans, and now therefore you are Jewish. That don't mean you are Judean. And those were the people who were forcibly converted by John Hyrcanus, which you actually saw that in the Zondervan's, not the Zondervan's, but the Young's Dictionary Bible. Okay, so now we have established that the father is the determining factor in the race of a person, regardless of what their mother are. We can go back to her video. So here we go.
But there is the stuff that, I had a lot of questions, people asking me about the African American blood and stuff like that, and black folks are targeted. We all know that. Now, a lot of you don't want to believe it, but they are. They've been targeted for a long time. You got
they know it. They just don't want to acknowledge it.
You got the abortion stuff. There was so much stuff where they were targeted and things coming out, especially with, I forget who said it. It said, we'll have them, he said the N-word, voting for us for a long time, talking about food stamps and welfare. And there's so much out there about how they were targeting people of color, and I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson.
It was Johnson.
Crap. And one thing that sickens me, and I've noticed it, and I know why. You go in the lower income areas and stuff. You've got a liquor store in every corner. You've got pawn shops in every corner.
Okay, let's stop it there. Let's stop it there. Let's go to the curses. This Deuteronomy 28, and it's around 40 something, 42, 43. Yep, 43 through 46. We're going to read those. And it reads, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. This is why the heathen nations are able to put their stores in the neighborhoods of so-called Negroes and get up very high above them. And Negroes are not allowed, given business loans, opportunities to open up businesses in their own neighborhoods, and they're definitely not allowed to open up businesses, and for the most part, in the heathenist neighborhoods, unless it's a so-called black woman. They'll allow her to do it, especially if it's because that's what they do. All right, to keep that imbalance place in the so-called black woman over the black male. That's not by accident. That's by design. All right. Verse 44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt not be the tail. So, and just like the scripture said, in one of all things, you have to go to our enemies. If you want a car, a house, a loan, a degree, a certificate, a license, you have to go to them. If you want money, you have to go to their banks. So, and the Israelites would not be in a position to be the head or the lender. They would be the tail, the borrower. So that eliminates a group of people that are claiming the nationality of the Israelites, because they're the complete opposite of these curses. All right, and then it reads, moreover, and then they're called by all these other names except for Hebrew Israelites, and their specific tribes. Reuben, Gad, Naphtali, Asher, Simeon. They're not Levi. They're not called by those. They're called, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, roughly paraphrased. All right. It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So these curses would be the identifying mark. They will be the ID. Now you got to walk around and present your ID. These curses would be the identifying mark to know who the Israelites are. It said how they stand around on corners like wild bulls. You don't see that when you go to so-called white neighborhoods. All right, you don't see them standing around on the corners like wild bulls in front of in front of the liquor store, in front of the mailbox. You don't see that because they're not under the curses like that. All right. So let's go back to her now.
These places in every corner. You've got your donations, bud donations. I mean, anything where people make money or any kind of addiction, anything. That's not okay, and it's not normal. And I've heard the comments from people. I come from a racist family, and believe me, when I married my ex-husband, I got disowned right off the bat. They're in the same thing with the donations, and I'm going to tell you, they do target African American blood. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't know, and they're not going to like to hear this. Ethiopians are Jews.
Wrong.
I don't know if you...
Well, they can't be Jewish.
They come from a Jewish lineage.
So they come from a Hamitic lineage. They are the sons of Cush. All right. This is why women aren't supposed to teach, but she's only regurgitating the false racist doctrines that came from white Christianity, from colonialism, colonialized white racist Christianity. What they call slave plantation colonial Christianity. That's what she's regurgitating. All right. And then she goes to speak on about the GreenEyedAngel and all these other books. And so we're going to talk about that. So let's go to the back to the scriptures. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 12 and 12. And it reads, and further by these, my son, be admonished of making many books, for there is no end, and much study is weariness of the flesh. All right. So all these other books, the book of Yasher, the GreenEyedAngel, and all these other books, they don't match up to the precepts in the Bible. They don't line up with the history either. All right. In the Bible, Isaiah 34 and 16 clearly tells you that there is no mate You can't match another book to the Bible, because, and to do so, you're not gonna. Let me go back to Ecclesiastes 12:13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So by keeping the commandments, you don't go to another book. Let's get Isaiah 34:16. Actually, I want to make a book note of that, because by not, it says the whole duty of man is to keep the commandments. Well, then that means you're not supposed to be going to these other books that actually don't have the truth in them, that mislead you and confuse you by giving you all this extra stuff. But that's done on purpose. And as a matter of fact, just with a little bit of research, you could research the book of the GreenEyedAngel and the book of Jasher, this in population, and that's actually out there in the world. Those books, if you look at the authors, they tell you that they're made up. All right, they're fabrications. They're not the actual books. Because yes, there is an actual book of Jasher, but we don't have it. It's probably, I would assume that it's probably in the hidden in those vaults in those Catholic vaults over there in why can't I think of the place where the wicked frog is. God damn it, I can't think of it right now. But you know the place that I'm talking about. The Catholic headquarters there in Italy. All right? In those vaults. That's probably where it is. All right? The Vatican. I don't know why that was that word was hiding from my tongue. All right? So let's go to Isaiah 34:16. And it reads, seek ye out of the book of the Lord of Yahweh, because it's Lord in all capitals, so that's YHWH, the Yah, the Ha, the Wah, and the Ah. All right, Yahweh. All right, and read. None of these shall fail, none of the prophecies, and none shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. All right. So the Spirit of the Lord has gathered them because the Spirit of the Lord is in this book. Because Yahushua is the Word, and the Word became flesh, and His Spirit is in these words. If He's supping with you, all right, as simple as that. So now let's go to. She said there's a plan and plots against the so-called black people. But she kept saying African Americans. Remember, Africa is named for the namesake of a so-called white man, Scipio Africanus, and America is named for the sake of a so-called white man named Amerigo Vespucci. All right, so you're not, white two times. All right, that's not a nationality. That's the name of two white people. All right, to call yourself an African or an American, and the Israelites were refugees in Africa that fled into West Africa, fleeing Roman persecution. Okay? And Arabs were actually really dark, and some Arabs are just as dark as Negroes, especially going back 100 plus and back further, 200, 300, 400, 1,000 years ago. All right? So the only people that came out pale, like the two men on the screen, all right? Because once again, you're trying to tell me that this guy on the bottom, all right? Okay, this guy here, okay, you can see the pointer is the father of these three men. All right, that the so-called black man, all right, or they say is a curse of Ham, and then he became dark, and that's not scriptural. They try to push that lie. What's truthfully matter is actually paleness is the curse. Remember how it talks about the leprosy, if you have the thin yellow hair? Yeah. Because guess what? These dark men can go in the sun all day long and not get sunburned. The other three will go in the sun and burn and be uncomfortable. And you don't touch me. So that's not superior. That's not a blessing to not have melanin, to where you can't even, where the sun is actually your enemy, like you're a damn vampire. Okay, but let's go to why there's plots against the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American against the Israelites. So we're gonna go to the book of Psalms, and I'm gonna read it from the NLT, and then get ready to wrap this thing up. And like I said, this video, well, I thought I put it up last night, not knowing that there was a strike on critical race historical facts. It's clearly the truth hurts. So someone, it probably was some JOO, some Edomites. But this is Psalms 83, all right, the Song of Asaph, and it says, "O God, do not be," and this is from the NLT, all right. "O God, do not be silent, do not be deaf, do not be quiet, O God. Don't you hear the uproar of your enemies? Don't you see your arrogant enemies are rising up?" And so the Lord has enemies here on earth, men, races of people that Esau Edom has tried to hide. Remember, Isaiah 25:7 says that the Lord would remove that covering cast over all people. So we know now. All right. That's like we know the Ammon and Moab are the sons of Lot, and they have that epicantic fold. That's what people would use as a racial slur and say slant eye or something like that. That's called, scientifically, it's called an epicantic fold, and that was the result of the incest that was done when Lot's daughters got their father, passed out drunk and got his member up, because when a man is passed out, his rod will still raise. All right, they got him passed out drunk. He didn't even know what happened to him, and sat on him and and took seed, and they both had children, and their children had the epicantic fold, and that has been the mark that was left upon them. We know that we know that just through reading the scriptures. All right, through proper research and extrapolation, and then there's relics that are left behind to prove that who Ammon and Moab are. And when you look at those relics, beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's the Japanese and the Chinese. It is as simple as that. Okay, and they're going to be mentioned in this collaboration, in this confederacy against the Lord. All right, and it says, "Don't you see your arrogant enemies are rising up? They devise crafty schemes against your people." All right, so the Lord has a people. All right, he picked one people over all other people, and it's definitely not the people who call themselves Jewish. It's not them. It says, "They conspire against your precious ones. Come," they say, "let us wipe out Israel as a nation. We will destroy the very memory of its existence." Yes, this was their unanimous decision. They signed treaties as allies against you. That's why they've hidden our heritage. And now in these last days, everyone wants to admit that they know who we are when they're questioned now, because they see the prophecies coming to pass. All right. It says they signed a treaty as allies against you. These Edomites and Ishmaelites. Well, you're looking at some Edomites on the screen and a supposed Ishmaelite. All right, and those are the sons of Ishmael, the Ishmaelites. The Moabites, which are the Chinese. The Hagarites, which are also Ishmaelites. Gabalites, which are also Ishmaelites. Ammonites, which are the Japanese, and Amalekites. Those are your JOOs today, the so-called white man. Through the Bible, you can trace back Alexander of Macedon, who they call Alexander the Great. You can trace him back in the Bible, in the Holy Bible, back to Amalek. His forefather, his forefather was Agag, all right, and Agag is a son of Amalek, and Amalek is a grandson of Esau, Edom, and then Amalek, the Amalekites, is the chief nation here on earth today. All right. So who owns the theaters? Hollywood, most of the music companies, the banks, most of the pharmaceuticals, and who owns all the media? The Amalekites. They can control the narrative. They run the banks, the money system for the most part. They also are the main lobbyist groups, which change and orchestrate law so that it always benefits them. Okay, and it says, continuing, and the people of Philistia and Tyre, those are actual Hamites, like the guy in the middle up top there, who were living in what they call the so-called middle. Those were the dark people that were pushed out of Egypt. I mean, man, come on, man. You can look at the what's left of the Sphinx and see that it was a head of a so-called African woman, person. All right. You can look at the side profile of a so-called Arab, and look at the side profile of an of a Hamite, and you can clearly see, who it is. I was trying to search for that image. I had an image, but I got a new phone. Everything shifted around, so I'm gonna have to try to organize these photos once I figure out how to do this. Yeah, I was just trying to find it real quick. Of course, I'm finding everything but it. Oh, well, you know what I did find? I can share this real quick. When it says Virginia passed two acts, I spoke about it. Virginia passed two acts in 1682 that combined Native American and Africans into a category called Negroes. All right? Trying to get that, trying to get it to focus. There it is. All right, did find that. So that actually happened. That's history, not theory. That's critical race history there, not theory. All right, and it says Assyria has joined them too, and is allied with the descendants of Lot, the Chinese and the Japanese. So all these nations got together to hide and destroy the Israelites and separate them from their heritage, which they did. Jeremiah 17:4 states it, that they will be cut off from their heritage. And then the Bible says in Baruch 2:30, it's just one of a few scriptures that tells you that in the end of days they shall remember themselves. So they shall remember themselves and think upon the Lord's name. So we have the name. So I hope this was edifying and uplifting. Call halal Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Rakah Kwadash Kwam Yasser Shalom.